So I'm going to be very close on the 5 minutes. So welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you on the matter of resolving suburban level crossings. Very good.
Thank you for hearing me this morning. People might be wondering why I didn't go to a committee. I was booked in to speak to the Infrastructure Committee. Their meeting was cancelled, so I'm here to speak to you. The reason I wanted to speak this month is that it marks, if you turn to the second page, what do we do here? Click. 4 weeks ago today there was a fatal accident on the Morningside Drive level crossing, which received quite a bit of publicity and then disappeared like yesterday's news. 2 years ago yesterday there was the very famous accident with the wheelchair, and again that one's disappeared from the news. That woman is still requiring round-the-clock care, costing you and me $200,000 a year. She will never get her life back. She was independent, she was confident, she had a job, she had a little flat, and she really liked the Morningside station.
Thanks.
Anyway, I won't dwell on that, but it raises or concentrates the mind a little bit on the issue that we still have 31 level crossings. We've known this for a decade, and what have we done about it? Not a lot. Okay, since the accident, Kiwi Rail, to their credit, have spent considerable time and energy on checking all of those crossings and making upgrades, but the point is they remain dangerous because they are still level crossings. And as I say on the next page, I'm getting a bit behind myself here, as long as people and trains come together in the same place, there is the risk of an accident. And another factor, which is perhaps not discussed so much, but I think we're all aware of, is the disruption and delays to traffic, including public transport, by the level crossings. And this chart, maybe not so easy to read there, but you've all got hard copy handouts. It is part of a larger analysis of all the crossings. The original version of this, which I saw, had 4 columns, so it was present day, 2016 when all the electric trains get going, 2021 or thereabouts when we improve the frequencies yet again, and then a bit of speculation as to what it might be like mid-century when we've got trains every few minutes. And what it's showing is that a lot of these crossings, the barrier arms are going to be down for at least a quarter of the time, and in some cases more. Sarawea Street at the bottom is a very special case, the busiest level crossing in the country, because it's on that short piece of line between Newmarket and Britomart, and that one is already being taken care of at some length. There's a plan, it's been through the Environment Court, it's held up in legal challenges, but it will happen. That's actually one of the cheap ones, and it will happen. My question is, what are we doing about the other 30? Sorry, I'm slightly out of order here. There is a report which was done. One of the authors is actually in the room. And that report I had a hand in. I helped with the brief of what they were going to do, and I was invited into several sessions as work was done on the report. But when the report was completed approximately a year ago, I have been struggling ever since to see it, and I've been told it's sensitive and I can't see it. The AT board was briefed on it in about April last year, and this is a slide from that. And it does include an interesting comment at the bottom there. So the guts of the slide is a list of out of the 31, there's about a third considered higher priority, the ones in bold. I think there's 8 or 9, whatever. But the comment at the bottom, it is only a recommendation coming from the staff that we need to do what we can to remove these high priority crossings over the next 10 years. Now, there are a few crossings we could simply eliminate, close, delete. That's cheap. But the bulk of them you can't close, because of course for every crossing you close you put more pressure on the ones that remain, and people do need to get from one side of the tracks to the other without some tortuous deviation halfway across town. So moving on, so what are we doing about the problem? I've alluded to the report. I refused to do an OAA request, but I was told some weeks ago that my request, which I actually lodged the day before the fatal accident, that was coincidental, that was being treated as an OAA and that I would have the report by the 26th day of March, which is today. I still don't have it.
Next month.
February.
February.
So all I've got is this.
Graham, I've got to tell you, you're at 5 now.
Okay, so I'll click to the last slide.
Good man.
What I'm asking you guys to do, you are not Auckland Transport, but you guys write the cheques. Basically what we've got is, we've got an RLTP. If you turn to page 108, line 47 of the great big chart at the back, you'll see railway level crossings. It includes $250 million. That looks good. But if you read the fine print, it's in the right-hand columns, which are unfunded. So, in fact, there is $0 available to do anything. And what I want to see is that broken up so that rather than say it's all or nothing, we either spend $250 million or we spend nothing. Can we at least commit to doing some of the crossings to make a start? And this is what, although I'm appearing here today as an individual, my local board put a resolution forward 5 years ago asking for exactly that. A program of work to progressively eliminate our level crossings. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Excellent, Graham. Good man. Are there any questions of Graham? Councillor Dick and then Councillor Wayne.
Yeah, thank you, Graham, and for sharing those concerns with us. In particular, I'm particularly familiar with some of these crossings, and in your estimation, how much worse will the traffic congestion get around the Woodward Road area as the frequency increases and the barrier arms will be down for almost, well, in fact, 15 minutes every hour?
Well, I think the thing is not just the current situation, but the fact that we have ambitions of doubling the patronage on the system, and the way to do that is to double the number of trains. So that means that instead of being down for 15 minutes every hour, we're looking at 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, at which point it becomes intolerable. And there are other level crossings, for example, Walters Road and Manaroa Road in Papakura, which Callum know all about, and some that aren't even mentioned on this list, like Church Street in Penrose. So there are a number of crossings which carry significant volumes of traffic that will get substantially gummed up. It's possible in the peak that the traffic won't get through before the barrier arm comes down again. So then you get a compounding thing. And during the rush hour, you could get gridlock in the affected suburbs. I don't know. But Melbourne and many other cities have faced the same issue. Melbourne put $440 million into their crossings precisely because of the gridlock issue, although there was the emotive and the actual issue of injury and death. The thing that drove it in the end was dealing with traffic congestion.
So just following up on that, so as the congestion increases, do you believe that it adds to the danger as people become more frustrated, waiting and
Indeed, that the two are actually connected, because what will happen, the guy at the head of the queue will say, well, I was stuffed up and I had to wait 10 minutes or whatever here yesterday. I've got an opportunity, I think, to beat the barrier arm. Oh dear, I've miscalculated, here comes the train. So I can foresee how, I mean, it's speculation, but yes, I do think that the two are connected.
Very good. And then I had Councillor Wayne.
Hi, Graham. Just around getting this report, you have asked for it. Has there been any reason given for withholding?
Yes, the very obvious one, that making these structures, they'll be quite large and they will involve land take, because even though you can work within the road reserve, in many cases they will affect access to adjacent properties. So you will need to take land, possibly, take someone's business away from them, etc., etc. And because there are alternatives, they don't want to be discussing way ahead of time in detail which sites might. So I get all that, and I cannot see why that can't be stuck into a schedule at the back of the report and the guts of the report, and I don't know how many pages that might be out of 94, but, 30, 40 pages of more general discussion, and I hadn't a clue on the funding. There's $228 million in the long-term plan. I do not know what that will buy. I can only speculate that the average cost is 25 to 30 million, so that will buy 8 or 9 crossings.
And the related question, you've produced this impact of train frequencies. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that in terms of delays, not only to the trains and the trains network in AT, but to the passengers, of course, who are effectively losing time by not having a faster trip.
No. The trains are not delayed. It's the cars that are delayed.
Ooh.
When the trains are delayed is when there's an accident and there's no services on that line for 3 hours while the cops go around photographing and measuring everything, and people are having to take alternate means of getting home. I mean, this is what happened 4 weeks ago. So there were no trains on the Western line for 4 hours, or 3 to 4 hours. So the delay every day when the system is working properly is to people using the road. The delay to the trains only occurs when there's an accident, which, touch wood, will not be very frequent.
So certainly delays.
But they do happen.
Okay,
Delays
stop.
overall.
It's questions, not debate. Graham, are there any other questions? Graham, thank you. Certainly a very strong advocate in this issue. Keep up good work. Right, I'll move.